Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As you can tell, it's not actually our jazz band that was just playing. We're getting ready for them to get started. So the music will play for about 30 minutes, and then we will hear from some of our speakers, after which we'll have some time for some discussion. So please keep yourself on mute for the time being, and we recommend using presenter view while you are listening to the Jazz Lab band. Just working on getting that audio to come back through. Give us one moment. Welcome everyone. For those of you who are just joining us, you're currently listening to the Jazz Lab combo. We'll get started with remarks around 6:30. Otherwise, keep yourself muted, please, and we recommend listening in the presenter view for the best viewing possible. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Gabrielle Busco, and I'm the Interim Director of Alumni Engagement here at Millersville University. As I've mentioned, you're listening to the Jazz Lab Combo, which is, of course, made up of all of our Millersville students and is under the direction of Ryan Kaufman. Just some housekeeping notes for this evening. Like I've mentioned already, please keep yourself on mute so that everyone is able to hear our presenters. And we recommend using the presenter view for your screen. Some of our students will be giving presentations, and that's the best way for you to be able to see their slides. After the remarks are finished, we will stick around for any questions that you might have. Feel free to use the chat as questions might come up, and we'll keep them logged. We'll also be using the breakout room feature. So if you're interested in having smaller discussions with some of our staff members, stick around after the end of the program and we'll get you set up into one of those. Like I said, my name is Gabrielle. Feel free to use the chat to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the evening. There's a little bit of a delay in us getting the sound back. Give us one moment.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first time mixed event. So welcome not only to those of you sitting here, but welcome to the folks joining us online. Before we get started, I wanted to especially recognize our Millersville University Jazz Lab Band. This year, they have a new way of doing Jazz Lab due to the COVID pandemic. So they're working in small lab groups and really focusing on playing the combo style jazz that you got to enjoy this evening. So I wanted to recognize folks, Professor Ryan Kaufman. This is his 5th year at Millersville conducting the group. On drums, we have a senior music business technology major, Chris Copeland. On trumpet, a sophomore music education major, Michael Eckersley. On bass, a sophomore double major, music business technology and bass performance, Declan Fisher. On trombone, we have Dom Mascaro, a senior music performance major. And last but not least, we have Alexi Peters on guitar, senior music business technology major. And I skipped my list. Josh, I'm sorry. I did not mean to skip you. On saxophone, we have a junior music education, double major music performance, Josh Kim. Thank you so much for being here with us. In addition, I wanted to recognize some of the students behind the scenes tonight helping make things happen. We have a second-year graduate assistant, Ryan Cast, serving as this evening's production director. He is getting his graduate degree in athletic communications. Thank you for switching from the field to this field, Brian. In addition, our 2 cameramen are undergraduate students. We have Jake, who is double majoring in entertainment technology and media arts productions. Jake is a sophomore. And we have Devin, a senior entertainment technology major. Thank you for being here tonight. All right, in addition to welcoming all of you, I also wanted to take just a moment to recognize a few special guests we have here with us tonight. First, we are pleased to have 2 members of the Millersville University Council of Trustees, Mr. Mike Warfel and Mr. Rick Rogers. Thank you for being here tonight. In addition, we have the president of the Millersville University Foundation Board, Mr. Joe Garner. Thank you for being here. And we have here with us, as well as joining us online, several members of the President's Cabinet, Mr. Victor Ramos, the Vice President for University Advancement, Mr. Brian Hazlett, the Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Mr. Victor DeSantis, the Executive Director of CJED, and Chris Stoyer, the Chief of Staff. Oh, he moved on me. Chris Stoyer is here as well. Thank you. Please let me say a big thank you to everyone. I have here some housekeeping announcements that I was asked to make, but everyone is doing such an awesome job following all of our health and safety guidelines. I feel like I don't even have to say these. Thank you so much for being respectful of the guidelines that we have here to keep everyone safe and to allow us to do more of these kinds of events. Just a quick reminder, when you're not seated and eating, we would appreciate that you have your masks on. In addition, wanted to share with you around the corner, just inside this building, are restrooms. Should you need to use them, please make sure you wear your mask when you enter the building. And finally, while you are eating and drinking, we ask that you please remain seated. So again, I did not need to say those. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Thank you again. And now, without further ado, please let me introduce Dr. Daniel Wuba, the 15th president of Millersville University.
Thank you, Alice. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. In this age of pandemic, one of the characteristics of our university that I'm most proud of is the fact that we've found ways to be innovative, to be creative, and to be agile. And I couldn't imagine us being able to do this under these conditions, but our staff come up with ideas and they always amaze me. I would like us to give a big round of applause to our advancement staff. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome everyone attending this event in person or online to celebrate the success to date of our Imagine the Possible fundraising campaign that started in July 2017. It predates me. Thank you for joining us this evening. To those who have already contributed generously to the campaign, on behalf of our university, accept my sincere thanks for your kind support, which has positively impacted our students. There is a Ghanaian saying, quote, "The measure of people's lives is not how much they possess, but how they impact others in a positive way," end quote. To our donors and supporters here, thank you for living this measure. Tonight, you will meet some of the outstanding students who have benefited from your generosity. The student success stories that you will hear highlight the incredible accomplishments that are possible for our students through access to high-quality academic and athletic opportunities, as well as hands-on student learning experiences. This campaign is the first major fundraising event in our university's history that focused entirely on students. Because of the overwhelming generosity of donors like you, we surpassed our goal of $32 million in private support in 3 years by 65%. To date, this campaign has raised a total of more than $53 million. To address the financial hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, we recently extended the campaign. This extension is designed to benefit our students who need support during this difficult time. Although thousands of students have fulfilled their dreams because of the Imagine the Possible campaign, it has the potential to help many more students succeed and experience a rewarding future. For example, our new Lombardo College of Business epitomizes the significant impact that a transformative gift can contribute towards the success of our students, our university, and indeed South Central Pennsylvania. This college is going to prepare our students to become the business leaders of the future. Let me share some of the curricular and co-curricular opportunities that have been provided to our students by your generosity through this campaign. Our students have been able to, 1, conduct undergraduate research in labs and field sites such as archaeological digs. 2, They've been able to gain first-hand experience in the workplace through numerous internships. 3, our students have been able to discover the world through global education. 4, they've been able to form new relationships and connections in our living and learning communities. Morada Athletics has earned several accolades since the beginning of the campaign. Among them are the national championships by multiple athletes, back-to-back PSAC championship titles by our men's soccer team, and numerous awards and honors for our teams and individual athletes. In addition to an increase in the average GPA of our athletes, the number of these students who were recognized as PSAC scholar athletes has increased over the year-over-year during this campaign period. These are just a few of the many successes our student athletes have gained, and it is safe to say that the generosity of our donors contributed towards these outcomes. As you may be aware, at the beginning of the Imagine the Possible campaign, we identified 3 major priorities, namely, increasing student scholarships, enhancing student learning experiences, and finally, supporting our athletic programs. While we have been successful so far, one important ingredient in our quest to live our epic values and to ensure best-in-class experiences for our students is to create top-notch learning spaces for our students. Therefore, as dedicated supporters of our university, I want to share an exclusive preview of a 4th campaign priority that we are going to add to the 3 existing priorities mentioned above. Our 4th priority is going to be campus revitalization, which will enable us to renovate and add additional physical spaces to our campus. Stay tuned for more information on this 4th priority. No matter how much I share with you about the success of our campaign, the best evidence of the impact of your generosity can only be demonstrated by the beneficiaries, our students. So we have invited a few of them here tonight to share their stories with you. So in closing, I want to extend my sincerest gratitude to all of you, those here and those online, for supporting our mission to provide exceptional education to our students at an affordable cost. It is through the support that you provide us that we are able to do that. Thank you for your generosity, and let's enjoy the remainder of this ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wuba. We appreciate you being here tonight. And again, I just want to offer a thank you to all of you in the audience and all of you watching online. Each of you has made a gift to the campaign, and we really appreciate that. And now I know the portion that everyone has been waiting for, to hear from some of our students who benefited from those funds. But you won't hear about them from me. We have a special treat. Sophomore music education vocal performance major, Noah Mano, has graciously agreed to serve as MC this evening, in addition to sharing his own experiences. A big thank you to Noah's cheering section, who came over from New Jersey to support him this evening. In addition to all of Noah's good work, he is also the vice president of the music group Chromatic here on campus, and was recently elected treasurer of the American Choral Directors Association chapter here at Millersville. So Noah, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurray, and thank you to Dr. Wuba for your remarks. I am proud and honored to be able to highlight the excellence Millersville has to offer. The following students have not only made an impression here at Millersville, but they continue to make a difference in the world. Because of the generosity of Millersville's donors, they have been able to go beyond expectations and pursue their dreams. Our first student today really exemplifies what it means to imagine the possible. From Rockville, Maryland, Benjamin Fellman is a senior meteorology major. Not only does Ben excel academically, but he is also one of Millersville's star athletes. Being the co-captain of the men's tennis team here at Millersville, Benjamin has been able to make strong connections both in the classroom and in the many organizations which he is a part of. After graduating, he plans to go to graduate school and pursue his career in forecasting. It is my pleasure to introduce our first student, Benjamin Fellman.
Thank you, Noah. Let me get the slides started. Good? Awesome. Good evening, everyone. From the time that I was a young child, I was absolutely mesmerized by the idea of weather. I would spend every waking second that I could outside from these photos, as you can see. I loved going to the beach, and one of my favorite spots was my grandparents' house in Kent Island. At this spot, I would watch the Weather Channel for hours. My parents didn't let me watch too much TV, but when I was at my grandparents' house, they would let me watch as much as I could. It was at this age that I started to pursue my passion for meteorology and imagine the dream that I would have one day. Growing up through my adolescence, I loved all of my science and my math classes. I had a devout passion for these areas and subjects. In addition, I still had this drive and passion for studying the weather. It wasn't until earlier on in high school that I realized that I would be able to pursue this passion of meteorology in college. During my junior year, as I began looking at different schools and colleges, I found Millersville University, a small school located just outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was about 2 hours away from my hometown in Rockville, Maryland. From the moment I set foot on campus, it felt like my second home. In fact, the picture that you can see here is from me visiting in the year 2016, just 4 short years ago. From being out of state, many people did not recognize Millersville University and the school. Many people had not even heard of it from my area. Cool. Sorry about that. Many people questioned why I came to Millersville and how I found this school. However, through their judgment and through what everyone said, I knew that this was the school for me, and to this day, I have no regrets. Starting off from an athletic standpoint, I came here as a freshman questioning what my life would be as a student athlete here. But over the course of the 3 years, through the scholarships and academic grants that I've had through programs such as the Imagine the Possible campaign, I've done so much. Just in 3 short years, I've become a 2-time PSAC Scholar Champion. I've received the PSAC Top 10 Award, and I've received academic All-American honors, all of which would not have been possible without the scholarships and grants that I've been granted. Because of the time that I've been able to spend extra out on the court, I've been able to work hard and be able to earn these awards. Within the meteorology department, I have also been able to excel because of programs such as the Imagine the Possible campaign. Earlier on, I had a drive and I had a hunger to be involved within research. Within my first 3 months of Millersville, I was able to complete research with the SEER Mars project. Bringing an airplane in from the University of Wyoming, we were able to have a 2-week project where we flew the airplane and did different research projects. The one that I was involved in looked at data within mountain waves. Having this experience at such a young age through programs that we have at Millersville, it led my hunger and it led me to do more things as a meteorologist. My sophomore year, through the guidance of my professors and faculty members, I applied for one of the most prestigious awards, the Holling Scholarship Program. Given to only 120 people every single year, students of physical sciences, ocean sciences, and earth sciences, it was an award that I wanted to achieve, but I knew would be hard. Through hard work and through perseverance, I was able to receive this award, And because of it, I was able to complete research this past summer at an office in Key West, Florida at the National Weather Service. Though COVID prevented me from being able to travel there, having this hands-on experience from home allowed me to be able to pursue my passion and see what I would be doing one day as a meteorologist out in the field. Overall, the scholarships I have received at Millersville are one of the main reasons why I've been able to complete everything that I've been able to share with you today. By providing me and all the students here today with scholarship money and opportunities, I was able to put all of my time into schoolwork and the campus community. I'm able to give back as much as I can to Millersville as you all have been able to give to me. As I finish off this speech, I want to once again thank the Imagine the Possible campaign and the donors that have contributed so much to this project. Your donations and efforts are reasons why students like myself are here today and are able to share stories that I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Your journey is truly inspiring. Like Dr. Wuba said, our student athletes are not only excelling in their own athletics, but they're also excelling academically. Our next student, is that me? All right. Our next student, Abigail Gant, is a senior meteorology major at Millersville University. And she also minors in mathematics, environmental hazards, and emergency management. From Wilmington, Delaware, Abigail's many talents and interests are nothing short of remarkable. Along with her great work in meteorology, she also plays soccer, she performs Irish dance, and is very involved in her church. Abigail not only values her education, which she receives here at MU, but she is also so thankful for the priceless relationships and bonds which she has formed with her peers, professors, and staff. Abigail is one of the many students to have benefited from the generosity of Millersville donors. Here to tell us more about her amazing experiences at Millersville and out in the world, Abigail Gant.
Good evening. As Noah so kindly introduced me, my name is Abigail Gant, and I'm a senior meteorology major here at Millersville University. Attending Millersville University has meant so much more to me than just learning how to be a better student and future meteorologist. It has meant learning how to advance myself as a leader by taking on new roles and emulating those who have impacted me, therefore inspiring me to impact others. It has meant learning how to create a family out of friends who have been by my side through every step of my undergraduate degree. It has meant learning what it feels like to have professors and faculty who care about me and my success at the collegiate level. It has meant learning how to pick myself up and succeed after a period of struggle. And it has meant learning how to become confident in what I have learned by applying my knowledge from the classroom to real-world experience. I have been blessed with the opportunities of doing so by participating in a storm chasing program with SUNY Oswego, as well as through an internship with the National Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey. In the spring semester of my sophomore year, I had the opportunity to attend the Northeastern Storms Conference in Saratoga Springs for the second time. During this weekend-long conference, I listened to many presentations from professors, meteorological professionals from a variety of disciplines, and students. One of these presentations was given by Dr. Scott Steiger, a professor at meteorology at SUNY Oswego University. He gave a presentation about the storm forecasting and observation program that he orchestrates every summer for undergraduate students. I was in awe at the opportunity that Dr. Steiger described. From the time I was a little girl, I dreamed of being a forecaster. When he said that this opportunity wasn't just for Oswego students, but for any student who was interested, I knew that I had to apply. The storm forecasting and observation program occurred over the course of 3 weeks, 2 weeks spent chasing out west, and 1 week completing a small research project back on SUNY Oswego's campus. I was one of 11 students on the trip, collaborating with students from Lyndon State University and SUNY Oswego. As the only Millersville student, I was nervous at first, but by practically living in a van for 2 weeks, you have time to get to know people. The 11 of us were placed into groups in order to have a different assignment each day. The assignments consisted of teams called forecasting, logistics, and equipment. On the forecasting team, I worked with my group members to find a destination for the day based on what the current conditions were and what we expected regarding the future conditions at that destination. The goal was to arrive at an area by around 4 or 5 p.m. when convection, was beginning to hit peak development in order to chase a supercell thunderstorm. There were days that the convection didn't develop into what we thought, and our forecast ended up being a bust. However, we made it up by being the forecast team on the last chase day, in which we were able to track all the way to Colorado, Kansas, and see our first and only tornadoes of the trip. On the logistics team, I looked for rest stops while either traveling to the day's destination or after a chase. I made sure that gas was put in our van when we had to make stops, and I posted to our social media pages so that friends and family could follow our trip. On the equipment team, I was able to launch several weather balloons to gather our own data regarding soundings on days that we didn't expect to see much in the way of storms. We also had mandatory down days so that our drivers could rest. On one of these down days, we were able to tour the National Weather Center in Oklahoma, as well as see the Twister Museum in Wichita, Kansas. After the chasing was done, I was able to complete a small research project on landspout climatology based on the landspout tornadoes that we had seen on our trip. This was the most amazing experience of my life. Each event taught me something new, and with every day that went by, I was able to grow in confidence in my meteorological knowledge and skills. And I was able to do it with an amazing group of people. This past summer, I had the opportunity to complete a remote internship at the National Weather Service in Mount Holly, New Jersey. Throughout the summer, I worked with several mentors who showed me a different element of forecasting each week. I participated in office briefings. I listened in on calls with the National Hurricane Center about upcoming hurricanes and tropical storms. I completed a research project, and I even published my own long-term forecast discussion. This was an amazing experience in which I got to learn more about and apply topics that I had learned about in my classes. My mentors made sure that I had a good understanding about things like hand-drawn map analysis, recognition of meteorological features on forecast models and how they would affect weather patterns, applications such as AWIPS, and inputting a forecast and TAFs into the system. All of this was to prepare me for my Keystone project of writing and publishing my own long-term forecast discussion at the end of my internship. I'd be lying if I say this wasn't terrifying, but it was also very exciting and rewarding all at the same time. In between my mentor sessions and office briefings, I was able to participate in things that I never thought were possible for an intern. An example of this is getting up in the middle of the night for a 4 a.m. National Hurricane Center call. I was able to listen into the meeting and then work with my mentor to see what steps needed to be taken to change forecasts, update warnings based on things that were being seen on social media, and communicate with other offices to make sure that they were on the same page and agreed with any of the changes that were being made. Being able to participate in 2 of these calls was one of the highlights of my experience and increased my interest in tropical meteorology. I also am probably the only 21-year-old who was that excited to get up at 4 a.m. One of the requirements for the internship was completing a research project. I chose to complete a wind regression for Mount Holly's ASOS stations. Part of my Keystone project was presenting this project to the office on my last day. This was an incredible experience and a really great way to learn how to present research. Despite having to complete this internship remotely, I wouldn't change the experience I received for anything in the world. I was given incredible opportunities to learn and grow within my field of study and was encouraged and supported by all of my mentors, and was even given the chance to realize that going into the National Weather Service is the path that I want to take after I graduate. These 2 experiences and every other experience I've had here at Millersville have given me a whole new love and appreciation for the science of meteorology. I never could have done either of these things or anything else that I do within the meteorology department had it not been for the support that I get from Millersville University and my professors. Millersville University presented me with the opportunity to go to the conference in which I enrolled in a program that changed my life, and it gave me the confidence in myself that I needed to apply for the internship at the National Weather Service and discover my true calling. I owe my success to Millersville University and its faculty. Without them, I would not be where I am, I would not be the student I am, and I would not be the future meteorologist that I aspire to be. I am forever grateful for the education that I have received here, and I am equally grateful for all of you, that you continue to provide opportunities for myself and other students at this university. Being a student at Millersville University means that I have a bright future ahead of me. It means that opportunities will fuel the fire that is my future career, and it means that no matter where I go or what I do, I will always have a family who will support me every step of the way. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Abigail. Those experiences were truly unforgettable. And I don't think you know this, but I actually live 10 minutes away from Mount Holly, New Jersey. So it was pretty cool hearing that she was able to have some of those amazing experiences so close to my home. Our next student success story is CJ Longo. CJ Longo is a junior at Millersville University and is also from New Jersey. He has a double major in environmental hazards and emergency management, along with a major in geography. He has had an enriching experience at Millersville, earning once-in-a-lifetime internships and scholarships. He is one of the many students who has benefited from Millersville's academic programs and facilities. CJ is a perfect example of an outstanding Millersville student. Since CJ is not able to be with us on campus this evening, he has actually pre-recorded his portion of the event, and I hope you are as excited as I am to learn a little more about his journey.
Hello, everyone. My name is CJ Longo. I'm a junior here at Millersville University, and I had the opportunity this summer to intern with the American Red Cross in Greater New York. I am an environmental hazards and emergency management major here, as well. I have a second major in geography, concentration in environmental studies. I am also an RA in South Village. I am also the second vice president for the Millersville University chapter of the International Association of Emergency Managers, or IAEM for short. I've been with the Red Cross since April of last year. I've been volunteering with them in New Jersey as well as in Pennsylvania when I'm at school, New Jersey when I'm at home, as a disaster action, with the disaster action team mainly. But we'll get into that further into the presentation. My internship title was Intern Disaster Relief Specialist for Staten Island, and the location was primarily right here, virtually on my computer. But a few times I did have to go into the field to do some disaster field work. And that was in the city of New York, the borough of Staten Island. So a few projects that I had, and mainly daily tasks that I kept up with for the internship was I attended many meetings with disaster leadership through the Red Cross, particularly region-wide. I also engaged in volunteer management and administrative activities to build disaster action teams and disaster response teams. I also updated a hazard risk assessment for the borough. A hazard risk assessment is a document that looks at different types of hazards and disasters that could face the borough. And hazard number one is hurricanes. Hurricane Sandy really impacted Staten Island. The worst actually disaster for the city was the most impacts were on Staten Island itself. I also helped, because of this, I developed a COVID-19 shelter team for the upcoming hurricane season. This hurricane season has been very, very active and we've been spared so far. But in case we would need to respond to a hurricane in the Northeast and New York City metropolitan area, we would probably need to be opening at least 25 shelters in the city, including a few on Staten Island. And we would need hundreds of disaster shelter workers And this is our workforce has been extremely limited due to COVID. So it was my job to develop a team and train that team up to respond if we needed them. I also helped coordinate response efforts on Staten Island for tropical storms Faye and Isaias. So a few missions and disaster deployments that I went on in the field. This was the only times I was in the field. So for COVID-19, I worked at 2 hospitals in Staten Island, outside, not anywhere near the hospital, not anywhere near patients. We set up a mass care distribution of like care packages to hospital workers and healthcare workers, hospital staff. These hospitals were the hardest, ones of the hardest hit in the city from the pandemic. We distributed on Staten Island alone in the borough over 2,000 care packages to staff as a thank you to them. I also responded to 1 multifamily fire, and I staffed a non-congregate shelter after a large apartment fire. We are not doing the big traditional shelters that most of you all are used to seeing the Red Cross. We're trying to get them into hotels so we have better social distancing. So I did staff a hotel shelter for a couple days. Then for Tropical Storm Faye, I attended multiple region-wide emergency coordination meetings with Red Cross staff and leadership. And I gathered a list of communities on Staten Island from the risk assessment that I talked about that were at risk of coastal flooding. And I used that list to send up the chain to prepare for any bulk distribution of emergency supplies on the island if needed. But fortunately, Faye wasn't as bad on the island. For Tropical Storm Isaias, on the other hand, of course, those emergency coordination calls were critical. And I also attended a few meetings with the Office of Emergency Management in the city, virtually. I was also put on standby to be a shelter supervisor if we needed. And the next day, I also responded to the island to conduct a damage assessment or disaster assessment to get a scope of the hurricane's damages on Staten Island, which throughout the city wasn't that bad. It was a few down trees, power was out for a little while, but it wasn't that bad here. So I was actually deployed somewhere else where they needed us. This was in the Philly area, and I stood there. I worked there for 5 days to conduct the same disaster assessment in the southeastern Pennsylvania region, primarily focusing on southwest Philadelphia with flooding. So here are a couple of pictures of me out in the fields. On the left-hand side is me working at the shelter. As you can see, Red Cross provides us with plentiful PPE. I had an N95 mask and a face shield to protect myself from COVID. And then on the right-hand side is me working this is actually in Bucks County, I think it was Doylestown or Downingtown, something like that. I don't remember the name for sure, but it's somewhere in Bucks County. This was after Tropical Storm Isaias came through, and actually a tornado came right through here, and you can see the tarp over the roof. The roof came right off, all these trees are destroyed. And I would go out and mark the house as either affected, minor damage, major damage, or destroyed. And this house was obviously destroyed because it had no roof. And this would help our casework management team, and also get sent to FEMA and PEMA, the emergency management agencies for the federal government and the state government, to help them determine how much funding each homeowner would get. So also on the left-hand side, this picture is with me and a couple of friends that I have at the Red Cross. On the right is my friend Justin. He works with me here in New Jersey. And then on the left is my new friend, Maria. She works in Greater New York with myself. Maria and I were both on the disaster assessment team, and Justin is actually on the disaster health services team. And we're all staffed up in that Philadelphia hotel. It was actually at the Marriott in the airport, which we were staffed in. And on the right-hand side is on Staten Island. This is some tree damage from the tropical storm. This was the worst I've seen on the island. It wasn't anything, no major damage to homes or anything like that we saw in Pennsylvania. So I did get promoted to a few new positions with the Red Cross. I've been working towards these since April of last year, and I have worked my goal up now. My supervisor wanted me to get at least one promotion, and as you can see, I had a few more than one. So I was promoted to Disaster Action Team Supervisor, Shelter Supervisor, Disaster Assessment Service Associate, Distribution of Emergency Supplies Service Associate, Government Operations Trainee, and Local Disaster Public Affairs Trainee. And a few courses that I was able to apply towards my internship was really cool, were Earth Systems and Natural Hazards, Intro to Emergency Management, Hazard Risk Assessment and Mitigation, Physical Geography, and Urban and Regional Planning. And thank you so much for hearing my experience here at the Red Cross with the help of Millersville. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I have my email on the screen here. And if you want to look into Red Cross's internships and programs, please visit redcross.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you to CJ for putting together that wonderful presentation. As you can see, Millersville students are really on the forefront of all these efforts with the pandemic right now. So it is really amazing that he was able to share that with us today. Our next student from Dauphin, PA, Rhiannon Fleming, is a senior at Millersville University with a major in meteorology and a minor in heliophysics/space weather. I'm glad she knows what that is, because I do not. So not only is Rhiannon an excelling student in our science department, but she also plays the viola in Millersville's Stellar Orchestra. And she is very thankful for Millersville because of the support she has been given to pursue her research. So it is my pleasure to introduce Rhiannon, who has some exciting things to show you.
Hi, I have to unbox everything first for you. So as Noah said, my name is Rhiannon Fleming, and I am a heliophysics space weather minor, meteorology major like my friends. However, unlike my friends, when I came to Millersville, I knew that I wanted to do heliophysics space weather. This means I want to study the sun and what comes off of the sun. So Millersville helped me with that in many different and very incredible ways. But the way I will show you tonight is the instrumentation way. My first experience with instrumentation was the CMR project that Ben had mentioned. I got to launch radiosondes and fly in the airplane, taking measurements to study something called frontogenesis. However, I knew that I didn't want to study frontogenesis. It's neat, but it's not space. So later that year, actually, I was able to help with a space weather launch, which is the instrumentation I have in front of me. So the first part you will see in our images, the image on the slide was taken by Sarah Hausiel, who is now graduated and has moved on to being in space weather field. So the first thing you see is our balloon. It is a latex balloon that we cannot actually touch with our hands. I can touch this one because it's broken. This is a 100-gram balloon. So that's about this big when it's, well, more like this big, when it's fully inflated. But that 100-gram balloon, how tall are you? Okay, so if Noah stood up and spread out his hands as far as he could, that's about as big as that balloon is when it's blown up. It is a very large balloon, and I let the other larger students handle that. As you can see, I am very small. Attached to that balloon is our parachute. It's a standard rocketry parachute, but we need this. This is one of our most important pieces, because when this balloon pops, we don't want our very nice styrofoam box to slam into the ground. We'll lose our data that way. So this parachute ensures that our descent is both gentle and slow. So the next thing you should see is the very orange box. No, it is not radioactive. It is merely so we can see it when we retrieve it. because all of the probes that we use need to be retrieved so that we can read the data. So within this box are 3 different probes, our Geiger-Muller counter to measure X-rays and gamma rays, and then our 2 UV sensors, UVA and UVB. You would recognize UVA and UVB because that's what causes a lot of skin cancer, and that's the main radiation that gets through our atmosphere. The X-rays and gamma rays do not. And then attached to all of these instruments is our LabQuest, and it runs fully on battery, but we have to retrieve it because this is what holds our data. We don't have a way to send it back to us, which is unfortunate. And finally, the final thing in our box is our GPS. So we know exactly where it is and where to get it. And that GPS has been very useful numerous times because we've had to cut this box out of a tree, or we've had to get it from a couple of feet outside of Six Flags. Because of the height that all of these instruments get, it gets very cold, and it also gets very, very high. So it means it goes very fast. So when we retrieve this box, usually we have to drive to New Jersey, almost to the coast. One of our missions, it was 1 mile away from the ocean. We got really lucky that time. So this GPS is essential, just like our parachute. All of this goes into the box, and then we have foam, so it doesn't, sorry, am I too close to you? Okay. So it doesn't expand like bubble wrap will and hurt our instruments. We use normal foam. Everything's packed in very tightly, and then it is taped and bungee corded. So there's no way that this box is gonna open, even if it does hit the ground a little harder than we want it to. And then finally, my favorite instrument of this entire assembly is our radiosonde. This is one of the older radiosondes. As you can see, it is fairly large. If I could get a close-up of this one, this is the one I wanted a close-up of. You can see it's a fairly large instrument. So when we use this instrument, it's very delicate at times. The instrumentation here, I can touch this. Human oils on your fingers will destroy this instrument here. But since this one is broken, I can actually touch it. This sensor measures humidity and temperature, and then this one does wind. We have moved on to nicer radiosondes that are more streamlined and also biodegrade. But the reason this is my favorite is the first instrument that I got to work with, and it is one of the more fun instruments because it does give you data as it goes up. So we use this for our meteorological data to compare to our radiation data. So once it all goes up, it's one of the most exhilarating things ever. We either let the balloon go and feed it out depending on how fast the wind is going, or we rip off, we have a very large box that we keep the balloon in so that it doesn't float away while we're trying to fill it up with helium. And we'll pull the cover off really fast so it goes straight up. That's probably one of the more exhilarating things because when the box goes, the radiosonde goes too, but it takes a second. So the person who's holding the radiosonde will have it just flung out of their hand. And that is one of the coolest experiences I've ever gotten to have. And then once everything happens, it pops, it comes down, we retrieve this box, we go and we take the data and we process it. And through that, I've learned how to do lots of different data analysis using Excel, using Python. And finally, we put it all together and we present it. And that was one of the best things ever, was because I got to go to Colorado to present data that I got from this awesome instrumentation. And this wouldn't have been possible if we hadn't had the funding from you. So thank you so much for your contribution, and have a good night.
Thank you, Rhiannon. You are truly an amazing innovator, and I really love that you were being able to experience all these things, and that it would not be possible without the help of all of you. So as you can see, Millersville students are truly imagining the possible. These are extraordinarily challenging times for our country. Many people every day are finding innovative ways to meet this challenge. Educators have as well. Educational leaders and teachers across our nation are finding new and effective ways to keep students learning and thriving. And this is no easy task. We at Millersville are contributing to these efforts. Our professors and fellow students are designing new ways and new instructional models and methods to meet the constraints of learning and doing during this time. Imagine the Possible is about nurturing, encouraging, and supporting excellence in education and student achievement for Millersville students. The opportunities I have had at Millersville have challenged me and helped me to be able to pursue my goals, no matter how ambitious. I'm a proud student of the Tell School of Music at Millersville, and we preside in the building right behind us. Our innovative and future-forward program is truly preparing me for my future as a music educator. I hope that someday I will be able to inspire my future students through my passion for music. I aspire to direct a choir and direct a musical and provide my students with the same enriching experiences I was provided when growing up. Millersville University and the Tell School of Music is providing me with all of the tools, experience, and knowledge I need to be successful. However, this would not have been possible without the generosity of Millersville's donors. In the summer of 2018, my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he is no longer able to work. Entering my senior year of high school, the burden of finances added a lot of stress in the decision-making process for college. I am personally grateful and affected for the scholarships I have received, which have eased that burden for my family. And I hope to eventually give back to Millersville and continue to help those in financial need. During this trying time, I noticed a lot of people were struggling to cope with isolation due to the pandemic. The challenges of anxiety and depression can be worsened when experienced in isolation. This is why it is so important to reach out to your loved ones. As a musician, I decided I could do something to brighten someone's day or to let someone know that you are not alone. So I got in contact with my a cappella group, Chromatic. With the help of the entire group, I put together a total of 3 virtual choir performances. These performances have now reached over 50,000 viewers. These songs included Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel, In My Life by the Beatles, and the one which I will have the pleasure of introducing today, Shawn Mendes's In My Blood. I arranged this song because I felt the lyrics and message were perfect for anyone who was struggling during this time. Throughout the song, you will hear me sing. Shawn Mendes wrote about his experiences with anxiety. He states, "Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. It isn't in my blood." And I think this is a perfect statement to describe how Millersville students have continued to persevere during this time. Optimism, resilience, determination, and hope. It is in our blood. And I hope that this performance resonates with you. Thank you.
It's like the walls are caving in. Sometimes I feel like giving up. I just can't. It's in my blood. Laying on the bathroom floor. insecure. Give me something I can take to ease my mind slowly. Just have a drink and you feel better. Just take a home and you feel better. Keep telling me that it gets better. Dancing together. It's like the walls are caving in. Sometimes I feel like giving up. No medicine is strong enough to help me. I'm crawling in my skin. Sometimes I feel like giving up, and I just can't. Going through my phone again, feeling anxious, afraid to be alone again. These days, I'm trying to find a way to chill. I can't breathe now. Is there somebody who can help me? It's like the walls are caving in. Sometimes I feel like giving up. No medicine is strong enough to help me. Crawling in my skin. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I just can't. It isn't in my mind. It isn't in my mind. I need somebody now. I need somebody now. Someone to help me out. I need somebody now. It isn't in my blood.
Thank you so much, Noah, for sharing your story, and thank you, students, for sharing your stories as well tonight. We really appreciate it. As you can see, we stacked the deck for the weather by getting some speakers from the meteorology department. I think we did a good job, and hopefully you probably didn't think you were going to come here tonight and learn about how to measure solar flares. Hopefully you learned a little something tonight as well. So students, we have a little thank you for you. I promise we did not pay the students. They came up here to share their stories with you, but we do have a little thank you for getting up here and doing this. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. You're welcome to hang out as long as you would like. I know we've lost the sun a little bit here, but please enjoy the rest of your evening.